welcome back to Bambasbat. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Latin nouns, specifically the fourth and fifth declension. That's because there aren't very many of them, so I haven't really covered them before, but they are quite important. So let's dive in and see what they're all about. Hopefully, you've already downloaded my free noun endings guide. That just covers the first, second, and third declension nouns because really you need to have those really solid in your memory. However, today we're going to be looking at some new ones. Let's just recap first, second, and third declension very quickly. Here's a nice easy sentence in Latin. Femina dominum vidit. Femina, the woman, is a first declension noun. Dominum, the master, is a second declension noun. He is in the accusative. Femina is the nominative, so I know this sentence means the woman saw the master. Another sentence, senex in bello pugnavit, uses two different nouns. Senex is a third declension noun, meaning the old man, and that is the nominative. Bello is a second declension neuter noun, so it has slightly different endings to dominus that we saw in the first sentence. In this sentence, it's an ablative, so this sentence means the old man fought in the war. These are noun types that you should be quite familiar with by now. Here's the full first declension table. You have the thematic A that runs through most of the endings, which is really helpful, and none of this should be a surprise to you. The second declension is also, hopefully, quite familiar, but look closely because here are the second declension neuter endings. So there are some differences here between bellum and, going back, servus. You have the nominative and accusative, singular and plural endings that change. The other endings are all the same. This is the third declension. Now remember, the nominative can be any ending. It could be rex, it could be canis, it could be mercator. Anything that isn't a, us, or is most likely to be third declension. There's also the third declension neuter, which can also have anything in the nominative. However, the accusative singular will be the same as whatever the nominative singular ending was, and the nominative and accusative plurals will end with a, just like my second declension neuter, because remember, every day, neuter plurals end in a. Let's move on to our new declension. The fourth declension has lots of wide-ranging nouns. So for example, exequitus meaning army, cursus meaning career, manus mean hand or band of men, and socrus means mother-in-law or father-in-law. A cornu is a horn and a genu is a knee. Now, I've put these in three different groups, and the reason for that is because exequitus and cursus are masculine nouns, manus and socrus are feminine nouns, socrus can be masculine or feminine, and cornu and genu are neuter. So these are really interesting because a bit like third declension nouns, you can have masculine, feminine, or neuter nouns within the fourth declension. Here is the full table for manus. Now, this means hand or band of men, and various other meanings, but it is a feminine fourth declension noun. Now, as you look at this table, you might see some problems that could arise for you. So you have manus, manum, that looks kind of normal, nominative and accusative singular, but then you have manus again for the genitive. You have manui for the dative singular and manu for the ablative. Manu kind of makes sense because you often just have a singular vowel at the end for ablative, for example, puella or domino, but then you get to the plurals and you have manus, manus. So now we have four different uses of the ending us in the fourth declension. Fourth declension nouns are not very common, but when they do arise, you have to hold a lot of different things in your head that they could mean until you have figured out the rest of the grammar for the sentence. So be careful whether you're talking about one hand, multiple hands, are they nominative, are they accusative, is it genitive of one hand? Just keep them all in mind. You also have manuum in the genitive plural. I think that's quite nice and easy to spot because the double U helps you out a little bit. And then we have the dative and ablative plurals, which are kind of what you expect with the ibus, like the third declension. Now, here's a problem noun, domus. Domus is a really common noun. I think I use it quite a lot actually in my videos. It means house. But my question to you, is it a second declension or a fourth declension noun? Domum domini vidi. I saw the house of the master. In this case, domum is just a normal accusative, as you'd expect. If you saw that, you would think, oh, second declension. Easy. However, here's another sentence. Domus domini vidi. Looking at this, the easy thing to think is, oh, domus is the nominative now. However, vidi is my verb. I am not a house, so domus can't be in charge of my sentence. I'm in charge. Domini is already the genitive, so it can't be the master of the house. It has to be of the master still. So in this case, domus is an accusative plural, even though it looks very nominative singular. So you have to be really careful. I saw the houses of the master. Now, the Romans slightly disagreed with all of this. There are several different authors who use it as a second declension and others who use it as a fourth. So you can also see domus, accusative plural, as domos sometimes. Basically, domus is such a common word that it ends up with a mixture of second and fourth declension endings. I just don't want you to be surprised if you see domus and it has weird endings that you're not expecting. It could be being used as a fourth declension noun. It could be being used as a second declension noun. This is one of the only nouns that can switch between declensions. Most nouns never, ever, ever, ever switch in their declension. It's sort of an intrinsic fact about that noun, which declension it is. Domus is just weird. It's such an old word and it's used so frequently that basically it's irregular. Let's look at the fifth declension. It's a little bit easier in that you have spares, res, dies, acies, species, words like that. They often end in a very similar way. And you just have the two genders, masculine and feminine. You don't really get neuter fifth declensions. The purple ones are feminine, so spares meaning hope, res meaning thing or business or affair, acies meaning battle line or sharpness, species meaning spectacle or sight. So they're the feminine. Dies in red is a common gender noun. It's not masculine, it's not feminine, it's kind of a mixture of both, but it's definitely not neuter. Most fifth declension nouns are feminine. Dies is a little bit weird. We'll come back to dies in a minute. Now, there aren't very many fifth declension nouns, but they are really important. If you think of all those words, hope, thing, day, battle line, sight, these are coming up a lot of the time in Latin literature. You'll see them quite frequently. So even though there aren't very many fifth declension nouns, they are quite common, which is why we're focusing on them in today's video. Here is res broken down for you. Res, rem, rei, rei, rei. Now, the singulars follow the pattern that you would expect. Res and rem, nice and easy, nominative and accusative singular. Rei and rei, genitive and dative singular, kind of follow a mixture of the second and third declension endings that you might expect. And rei for the ablative singular with just a vowel at the end, that follows a pattern that you expect from puella or domino in the ablative. So not unusual. What can cause problems again, just like the fourth declension, is the nominative and accusative plural being very similar to the nominative singular. In fact, they're exactly the same. You have res and res again. So if you see res, you need to think, is it singular one thing, one matter, one affair, or is it the affairs, the matters, the businesses? So be careful with that one. Rerum, rebus, and rebus kind of follow the pattern that you expect. Imagine ibus at the end and then just take the I off for the dative and ablative plural. And rerum kind of follows the genitive plural ending that you expect. Now, I said we would come back to dies. Dies is a weird one. It's very, very important. Luckily, it follows exactly the same endings as res, but it is so common that I just wanted to show it to you. Dies, diem, diei, diei, die. Not die. Don't say die for the ablative of the word dies. Really easy to read it as die and then confuse yourself. It is die, so it is an ablative. Then in the plural, dies, dies, again, the nominative and accusative plurals are really similar to the nominative singular, so look out for that one. Dierum, diebus, diebus. Again, they have the endings that you expect. So they are fourth and fifth declension nouns. Now, as I said, there are a few of them, but they are really important. So it's a good idea to try and get your head around them. Before you move on to fourth and fifth declension nouns, though, you really need to make sure you know your first, second, and third declension endings. So make sure, if you haven't already, that you've downloaded my noun endings guide from the link in the description below. I hope this helped you with fourth and fifth declension endings. Have you met them before? Have you come across them and they've tripped you up? Do you think it would be useful if I made a guide for the fourth and fifth declension endings like I have done for the first, second, and third that you could download? Let me know what you think in the comments, and if that would be helpful to you, I will try my very best to make one soon, but if not, I won't. So let me know. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time on Bambasbat.